Alright, so this video is going to be a method to relax your Wing Chun punch. I'm pretty much going to explain a little bit about how the body works to try to help the visualization with a few examples to pretty much visualize to help actually relax. So relaxing is pretty much one of the most difficult things for anyone in any form of martial arts to do in the beginning, right? Part of it is that we think of every motion as push, right? And so typically the beginner is going to try to push their punches out, and they can get really good at pushing the punches out, but it's not quite the same. It doesn't carry the same kind of snap that you need to actually make the punch hurt. And then when you start incorporating the rest of the body into the motion and start doing a full body punch, then your motions are going to be much slower than they should have been. They're going to be harder to follow up. You're going to send yourself off balance more, and a lot of different issues, right? So instead of thinking push, you should start thinking more of pull. And so the reason why I say that is because if you actually look at how muscles work, they work based on contraction. They're pulling to open and close hinges or to move around in joints, right? So to kind of visualize this idea, imagine you had a very heavy wagon behind you, and all you had was a rope to dangle over your shoulder, and you were trying to pull the wagon forward, right? Well, this is still a forward motion, but you're pulling, right? So you're pulling forward instead of trying to push forward, right? And that difference is going to be what allows you to relax your strike, because if you were to just do Wing Chun punch, slow motion, if you push it out, you're going to feel a lot of tension in your shoulder. It might not be noticeable at first because a lot of people aren't aware of any tension in their body that's actually already there, but you're going to, if you focus on it and really try to feel it, you're going to feel that the shoulder is actually doing all the work when you start pushing your hand out. So instead, almost imagine like there's a gravitational pull at the target and your hand is being pulled forward. When you start pulling the motion forward, the work goes out of your shoulders. The shoulders can finally relax and they're not tense anymore. Instead, especially if you start feeling around the different muscles of your torso, the work of the shoulder has now been pretty much taken over by the back and the chest. And so instead of trying to push your punches out and then wearing out your shoulder, which is also going to take away a lot of power, it's going to take away a lot of stability. Pretty much everything that you're trying to do is going to fail because the shoulder joint is going to be where your strike gives, and at the same time, it's what's trying to contribute the power. You want to pull the motion forward, and it's going to feel a lot more effortless than if you were to push. As you continue doing the strikes more and more and more, obviously the weakest muscle is going to be the one that starts to fatigue first, and you're going to feel that it's not your shoulders getting sore, it's more so going to be your triceps, right? And so again, it's that same idea of trying to pull a wagon, all right? You wouldn't push the rope forward, that wouldn't work very well. You want to pull it. And so the reason why that's working is because, again, to send the arm out, this is a contraction, it's a pull. And so you're just pulling forward, and that's where you're getting that relaxed movement of the limb. Now, you take this a step further, and you start incorporating the body. And so when you do a full body strike, you don't want to just try to push everything forward like that. You see how I have to shift my balance forward also, because everything's trying to move forward, right? Instead, you want to pull with half the body and push with the other half. So the legs are going to be a driving force against the ground, right? But my waist, my chest, everything else, it's pulling forward. You see, I don't have to shift my weight like that to get that movement. I just have to, again, allow that pretty much torque of the body to pull everything forward with me as I'm driving my leg into the ground. Now, you don't have to think too heavily about driving your leg into the ground. If you turn the waist, or some people prefer turning the pelvis, but for me, I prefer turning the waist. If you turn the waist, you look at my legs moving. This movement happens because my legs are moving, right? And so what I want to do is I want to pull with my waist pretty much harder and harder with each hit that I'm doing, rather than pushing harder and harder. Now, the harder I pull, because there's no resistance on my body, it feels effortless until obviously you hit something. That's the other part. When you actually hit something, you can't bounce off. If you're bouncing off, you're not solidifying the structure very well. Force goes path of least resistance, which means that if your hand is just bouncing off at contact because you just kind of threw it and forgot, or if your body is kind of buckling like that at contact, that's loss of power, significant loss of power. When you look at other styles, they talk about tensing at the point of contact. It's not a meaningless, static tension. You're not going like that, but your forward intent, when it meets a solid object or something that offers a form of resistance, then you solidify forward. If they, for whatever reason, disappeared, you would continue going forward. You wouldn't lock and then they move away and you're just stuck like this. It's not the same. By contracting forward, you are solidifying structure, or contracting in whatever direction you're striking, right? It doesn't always have to be forward. But so again, you want to relax and pull, and you're pulling with the whole body. Starting again, just normal. You're gonna just start learning how to pull the arm forward, and you're gonna start pulling the body forward with the waist, so that pivot, right? And then from there, you can play with timing. This might contradict some other people's variations of Wing Chun. There's so many different variations. Not all Wing Chun punches the same even. I took down a video that I had before that was explaining one of the variations, but some prefer to uppercut, some just, again, punch literally straight, some just kind of flick the hands out. I've seen that before. Some of them I agree with, some of them I don't. But the next thing is playing with a form of timing and elasticity. And I'm not going to talk about this one too much, but it's pretty much allowing the body to relax. And people sometimes refer to this as an elastic effect because it's kind of like slingshotting or stretching a rubber band, where the waist moves first and it launches everything else forward, right? It's if you exaggerate it, it's a large stretch like that, and you're playing with it, getting an understanding of the timing, and then shortening it so that you can just launch it in an instant.